Need a better system for storing your seeds? One that lets you find what you have when you need to and keeps them protected from pests and helps your seeds last a long time? That's what we're going to talk about in this video about how to store and organize your seeds. Hi, I'm Amy Landers with GardensThatMatter.com, where we believe your garden is the key to better food, a better life, and a better planet. And this is part of our series all about seeds. You can find the whole series at GardensThatMatter.com/seeds. We had a small tragedy around seeds at our house this season. I got pretty busy at the end of the season last year, and so I had seeds in lots of different places. Paper bags, kind of finishing drying, cardboard boxes. I had some on my desk. I had some on the shelf in the kitchen in a bin, lots of different places. One of the cardboard boxes ended up out in the garden shed where mice got into it. They ate all the sunflower seeds and quite a few others. So we brought it to the deck so we could get it cleaned up and put back together, right? Guess who got into it next? Indigo, fondly known as the Queen of Destruction, the puppy that likes to eat everything. She chewed up seed packets. She sprawled seeds all over the yard. The kids are sure we're going to have a jungle in the yard next year, which we probably won't because it's in the shady part of the house, but lots of seeds out in the yard, on the deck, total mess. And so, thanks to Indigo's prompting, we sat down and got everything organized, got everything cleaned up, got our seeds back into a good system, and I'm excited to share it with you today. Now, a good system for saving and organizing seeds is going to have 4 characteristics. First, it's going to make it easy for you to find what you're looking for. If you're shopping for seeds, it's easy for you to know what you have and what you're missing. If you send one of the kids or a partner in to get the seeds that you need in the garden, it's easy for them to find. Go get the carrots, this is where they are, right? The second characteristic of a good system is that it protects your seeds from pests, mice, different types of insects that eat seeds, dogs. A cardboard box out in the shed is not going to cut it. You need a container that is going to close, that can latch, maybe even seal, depending on where you live and what kind of pests you have. The third characteristic of a good system is that it keeps your seeds at ideal conditions. Most of our vegetable seeds, most of our annual flower seeds need cool, dry, and dark. So you're going to want to have that storage container, keep things cool, dry, and dark. Now, should you put it in the fridge? Maybe. We're going to talk about that towards the end of this video. The fourth thing you need is flexibility. You need your system to work even if somebody else is putting up the seeds, even if it's the end of the season and it's kind of crazy and you're just putting things in. You need things to just be safe and at ideal conditions, and then you can come back and do some maintenance later. Now let's go step by step through setting up a system. First, you're going to gather all your seeds up. If you've got some in the garage, the garden shed, the office, the kitchen counter, pull them all into one place so you can see how many you have. Second, you're going to gather your supplies and a few tools. You need a container large enough to hold all those seeds. You might go medium, large, or small. Now, all of these bins are plastic, which ideally we're not buying new plastic, right? We're recycling things we have around the house. You can also think about metal. This is an old tin that the kids had from a kit. Often you can find tins at thrift stores, or glass. In this case, we're using it to store the seeds themselves, but you could also use a wide mouth jar to store a few seed packs. Next, you're going to need something to hold your seeds. You can use old envelopes, maybe some the kids drew on. Seeds don't care about that. Junk mail envelopes, or even repurposing things that came to you in the mail, just saving those envelopes and reusing them. Cardboard or paperboard, something a little bit thicker to use for dividers. You can definitely go recycled with this one. A pen and some tape. Craft tape or masking tape are great because they are compostable when you're done, or just use whatever you have around. And of course, your seeds. Now, I do have one optional thing you may want to add to your seed kit, and that is a desiccant. If you live in a place that's pretty humid, if your house or the place where you're going to be storing the seeds is pretty humid, you may want to add this material to pull moisture out of the air in the container that you're going to be storing seeds in. So since we're going to be saving more and more seeds going forward, we wanted to have something we could use again and again. So we invested in this 5-pound container of silica gel beads. They're orange when you look at them, when they're dry, but when they're wet, they turn green. And so then you can take them, pour them out on a cookie sheet, and then put them in the oven to push that water back out of them, evaporate the water out of them, low heat, and then cool them off and then use them again. So we like the idea of having something reusable that we can put in with the seeds to keep them dry. Now, other options for desiccants include dried powdered milk or untreated cat litter. Those will help pull moisture out of the air as well. And again, this is an optional part. We just know that we want to keep seeds for the long term, so we want to keep them dry. You've gathered your seeds, you've gathered your supplies. Now we're going to start organizing. And to do that, we're going to clean up and we're going to organize like with like. So put your kale together, put your lettuce together, put your peppers together. Just get things organized in that way. If you saved your own seed and you didn't take things off the seed head and get the chaff out in the fall, you could definitely do that now. We had some dried corn that was still on the cob. It's some the kids brought home from school, a beautiful red variety called Bloody Butcher. Kind of a dark name, but really beautiful corn, and we're planning to plant it, so the kids helped us get it ready. And then once you have everything cleaned up and laid out like with like, it's time to start putting them into your system, filing them in. And there's several different ways you can do this. We use plant families. We organize botanically. And I'll tell you more about why in just a minute. But other systems include alphabetical. If you're just beginning and you just have a few seeds, you can totally go alphabetical. It'll work really well for you. You could also organize by the time frame that you plant them. So spring and summer and fall. My friend Sonia does this even down to the week, what she's going to plant in any given week. I love the idea of this, but my tendency would be to go to a lot of trouble and go to a lot of detail. And with a busy life and young kids, things don't always go according to plan. So I would probably just end up being frustrated that all my seeds are in the wrong place. So thankfully, Colby has come up with a brilliant way to do a hybrid version of our organization by plant family and having the seeds that we need in any given week ready to go. So why did I decide to go with botanical organization, using the plant families to organize our system? Well, there are a few reasons. The first reason is that we rotate crops in our gardens by family. If we grew the same thing in the same little piece of soil every year, it would both deplete the soil and then also the pest and disease pressure would grow, right? We wouldn't be breaking the cycle of those pests. So if we grow squash in the same spot every year, it's not going to do as well. So we rotate and put squash in different parts of the garden. Organizing our seeds by family helps us remember that squash and pumpkins and melons are all in that Cucurbitaceae, the cucurbit family. So it makes it easier to plan our garden if we can see at a glance what's in each family. The second thing is, it's interesting to think about how different plants are related. Lettuce and the beautiful purple asters you see in the fall are both in the Asteraceae family, the daisy family. Sunflowers are in it too. So it's really interesting. If you let a lettuce go to seed, some of the same pollinators that come to our Asteraceae flowers, like asters and sunflowers, are going to come to the lettuce as well. And so the flowers are very similar, and it's an interesting way to think about how plants are connected. And I like that I'm learning and the kids are learning and Colby's learning more about how plants are related every time we work in the seed system. Now, I mentioned that Colby had come up with a good hybrid system, and we're going to use this small container to help us with that. When we go out into the garden, I like to take the seeds with me, but it's a good idea for us to have them in a covered container. There's watering happening, things get a little crazy. If the seeds are just in a basket or loose, they're likely not going to end up where they should be, and they probably won't stay dry either. So each week or so, whenever we know we're going to have time to plant, we'll pull out what we need to plant that week. And so in this sheet, I've got things we're going to start inside, things we're going to direct sow outside in the soil, and I can go through the wider system and put them into this box so that everything we need for the week is in here. And some things will stay, like radishes. We'll plant some this weekend, then we'll plant some in maybe 2 weekends, so that we have a steady supply. We're succession planting our radishes. And having this type of system where we've got the big box where things are stored, and then the little box that's the active box is really going to help us with that. So once you've decided on how you're going to organize, create your dividers and start filing your seeds away. Do make sure that you create an area for unsorted or miscellaneous seeds. This is where you can put things when you're not sure where they go. It's where kids can put the seeds when they go put them away and they're not sure where they should go. And it just lets you keep that system flexible, which is key, so that over time you really can have a system that continues to work for you. So if you go with the plant families, you might feel a little intimidated by those names, and don't worry about it. You don't have to say the names, or if you do, just say them with confidence. Amaranthaceae, that's the amaranth family with our beets and spinach and chard. Brassicaceae, that's our brassicas, cauliflower, broccoli, collards, kale. Fabaceae, that's the legumes, peas and beans. Now, if you'd like a cheat sheet to help you figure out what plants go in what family, we do have one of those for you over at gardensthatmatter.com/seeds. You can put it right on your cover for easy reference. Now before we seal this one up, we'll add the desiccant packets. I'll probably come back and add a couple to this one, but that's going to keep those nice and dry. And last but not least, keep it in a cool, dry, dark space. This will go into a closet at our house that's not heated, pretty cool, and definitely dark. You could also store seeds in your fridge if you have the space, but there's a couple things to be cautious about when storing seeds in your fridge or freezer. First of all, you need to make sure they are really dry. If they're going in the freezer and those seeds still have some moisture, it will actually kill the seed because they'll burst from that water expanding. In the fridge, you want to make sure they're staying dry because the fridge tends to be a place with moisture, right? You can think about how things have condensation. And when you take things out of the fridge, you want to let them sit until they get to room temperature so that the condensation happens on the outside of the container, not on your seeds on the inside. Now, if you look in my fridge, I do have a few seeds in there, and they're the kind that need to stay cool and wet. And so as you're learning more about seeds, you may come across some of these. Passion vine, milkweed, those seeds do best with a period of cool, wet storage, kind of like winter, right? If they were outside in the soil, they'd be cool and wet for the winter. So we emulate that by keeping them packed in wet vermiculite in the fridge. Now there's one other thing you may find you need in your system. We have some seeds that are in bulk, right? So they're in larger jars, and I have some that are stored in larger envelopes. And so I need something bigger. They don't all fit into our small bin. And that is where our big bin comes in. This big bin allows us to keep these larger envelopes in it. If you had a lot, you could use the same organization system. We just have maybe a dozen different things in here, so it's easier for us to just make a note on the card in the main system about what's in here. So for example, I have wingstem. This is a big bag of wingstem that we saved out of the garden last year, and it's a beautiful Asteraceae wildflower plant. It's in the daisy family, so I can make a note on that card. This lets us keep our bulk seeds all together and organized. And we'll include some desiccant in this one as well. All set. Our seeds are good to go. They are safe from pests. They're going to be stored in dry, cool, dark conditions that are going to help extend their lifespan. And we can find what we need when we need it. So, what about you? What's your system going to look like? Do you have some ways of storing seeds that you already really like? I would love to hear about it. Let me know down in the comments what works for you or what you're going to try this year. For more garden goodness, come on over to gardensthatmatter.com where you can explore our online classes, read the blog, sign up for email updates, and more. Until I see you again, happy gardening!